Hey, Raiders Nation. Today we're diving deep into the state of our team after an intense, nail-biting game against the Texans. Before we get into it, I want to be real with you all. I've been feeling under the weather, so I didn't go into studios because, the holidays are coming up, and I didn't want to risk getting anyone sick. But we are here, and we're going to break down exactly what's happening with the Raiders, and, more importantly, whether it makes any sense to think about keeping Pete Carroll for another season. Let's cut through the noise first. After the Texans game, there have been plenty of overreactions flying around, with people suggesting that Pete might still be the guy to lead this team. I need to be crystal clear, don't fall for that. Just because the Raiders played well against Houston doesn't erase the struggles we've seen all year. The performance was impressive, sure. Arguably the best game we've seen from the team since the season opener against New England. But one good outing doesn't rewrite a full season of missed opportunities, poor execution, and questionable coaching decisions. You can't let a single December game cloud your judgment. Pete Carroll, at 74 years old, is undeniably a respected figure in football, and there's no doubt he's a great human being. His desire to return to coaching and his affection for this team is admirable. But let's step back and think critically. Is he the best choice for the Raiders' future? From where I'm standing, the answer is no. Age, style of coaching, and the ability to adapt to a modern NFL roster are all factors here. And when you weigh them against the direction the team needs to head in, keeping Pete simply doesn't make sense. Now, some people have suggested giving Pete another season if he's provided with better resources, namely a competent offensive line, a solid offensive line coach, and a reliable play caller. On paper, that sounds reasonable. But in reality, if Pete stays, the team will likely continue with Brennan Carroll, which doesn't solve the offensive line problem, and there's no guarantee of attracting high-level coordinators willing to work under him. The idea that one more season with Pete, even with these adjustments, would suddenly transform the Raiders into a playoff contender is a stretch. We have to look at the entire body of work, not just one shining performance. No matter how exciting it was to see Geno Smith rush for over 100 yards and even catch a touchdown. Speaking of Geno, let's be honest. He's talented, and he had a fantastic game against Houston, but decision-making continues to be a concern. Over the course of the season, he's taken unnecessary sacks, thrown risky interceptions, and shown a tendency to prioritize stats over the team's success. That pick six against the Texans could have easily swung the outcome, and that's the reality we face. Talent alone won't carry this team if the decision-making under pressure doesn't improve, which again brings us back to the coaching situation. A modern NFL offense demands not just talent, but a system and leadership capable of maximizing that talent consistently. That's where a new direction is critical. The offensive pieces are there, though. Ashton Jenney has proven himself as a dynamic, physical running back capable of breaking tackles and making explosive plays, which we saw with his long runs and touchdown catches. Brock Bowers and Michael Mayer are developing into reliable tight end options, while receivers like Trey Tucker and Jack Bess are beginning to find their rhythm and make big plays. If the Raiders commit to a strategic rebuild of the offensive line, pair it with a forward-thinking head coach, and invest in a high-caliber offensive coordinator, the potential to turn this offense into a legitimate contender exists. But none of that will happen under the current structure with Pete at the helm. We also have to consider the young talent and how the team has utilized it. Injuries and end-of-season opportunities have allowed rookies and younger players to showcase their abilities, and they've often outperformed the older, more established players who were favored earlier in the season. The growth and performance of these younger athletes are encouraging, but they're being held back by a system that has yet to fully adapt to their strengths. The decisions made throughout the year, favoring veterans over developing talent, show a lack of long-term vision that's critical for sustained success. Now, let's talk about the big picture. The Raiders season has been tough, no sugarcoating it. Over 6 consecutive games before Houston, the team allowed 4 or more sacks and averaged less than 75 rushing yards per game. These are fundamental failures in execution that cannot be ignored. Celebrating a 2-point loss to a 10-5 Texans team as evidence of growth is setting the bar far too low. Professional athletes are expected to perform at a high level, especially when they are being paid millions of dollars to do so. Applauding them for simply showing up and doing their jobs is not only misguided, but also diminishes the standards this team should be held to. One of the most dangerous narratives this season has been the idea that a single good performance means we are on the right track. Beating a struggling Giants team or facing a depleted Chiefs roster does not validate the overall strategy. It does not erase poor coaching, inconsistent performance, or missed opportunities. A full evaluation requires looking at the entire season, the off-season planning, and the trajectory of the roster moving forward. And the reality is, despite flashes of brilliance from individual players, the team under Pete Carroll has shown limitations in adaptability, play calling, and maximizing the talent on hand. In terms of the offensive game plan, the individual performances were promising. Jenny's versatility as a runner and receiver, coupled with productive contributions from the tight ends and young receivers, demonstrates what this roster is capable of when used effectively. Plays like Trey Tucker's intermediate route success, Jack Best's long reception, and Brock Bowers' touchdown highlights reveal that the foundation is there. The issue is not the players. It's the system and the leadership guiding them. With better coaching, improved offensive line investment, and a quarterback capable of consistent decision-making, the Raiders could finally leverage these talents to win games consistently. Even on defense, the team showed signs of improvement, with a performance reminiscent of what you'd expect from a Patrick Graham-coached unit. The defense looked organized, disciplined, and capable of limiting big plays, which is encouraging. However, isolated strong performances do not compensate for a season of underachievement, particularly when the challenges of consistency and adaptability remain unaddressed. At the end of the day, the Raiders have the right pieces to build a competitive team. The young talent, the offensive potential, and glimpses of defensive cohesion are all positives. But keeping Pete Carroll is not the solution. The leadership, play calling, and developmental approach this season has revealed significant gaps that cannot be ignored. To reach the next level, the Raiders must commit to a modern, dynamic approach, investing in coaching, offensive line, and strategic growth around a quarterback capable of executing at a high level. In short, one game does not define a season, and one good performance does not justify maintaining the status quo. This team has talent, opportunity, and potential, but it requires a new direction to truly capitalize on it. Holding on to Pete Carroll may feel comforting to some, but for the Raiders to truly evolve and compete at the highest level, the organization must embrace change, invest wisely, and push forward with leadership that aligns with the demands of the modern game. All right, Raiders fans, let's keep digging because there's still so much to unpack about where this team is and where it needs to go. If you think one game against the Texans proves we're suddenly on the right track, I need you to take a step back and look at the bigger picture. This season has been a roller coaster, and while there were glimpses of hope, too many games have exposed weaknesses that can't be ignored. The truth is, the Raiders have talent, but talent alone doesn't win football games, especially in a league where coaching, preparation, and execution are just as crucial as athletic ability. Let's start with the offensive side because that's where I see the most potential, but also the most risk if decisions aren't made wisely. Ashton Jenney has proven he can carry this team in bursts, and when you see him break tackles, gain positive yards after contact, and catch passes out of the backfield, you realize he's more than just a runner. He's a playmaker. But playmakers need structure, and the Raiders' offensive line has been inconsistent at best. You can have a superstar back and talented receivers, but if the line isn't giving time for the quarterback or creating lanes for the run, all that talent gets wasted. That's why investing in the offensive line has to be the top priority in the offseason, whether through free agency or the draft. A solid line doesn't just help the run game. It opens up the passing game, keeps the quarterback healthy, and sets the tone for a balanced offense. Speaking of the quarterback, Geno Smith showed flashes of brilliance against Houston, but one game doesn't erase months of questionable decision-making. He has the arm, the vision, and the experience, but his tendency to take sacks unnecessarily and prioritize personal stats over situational awareness has hurt the team. The Raiders need a quarterback who can manage the game, protect the football, and make smart throws under pressure. If the team can combine a better quarterback with the emerging young talent already on the roster, we could see a real transformation in how the offense performs week to week. Then you've got the young receivers and tight ends, who are starting to show why they were drafted and developed. Brock Bowers has the size and hands to be a matchup nightmare. Michael Mayer is athletic and versatile, and receivers like Trey Tucker and Jack Best provide that quick, short to intermediate passing threat that can move the chains consistently. These players are hungry, they're improving every week, and they're capable of making plays in critical situations. But again, without the right leadership and strategic planning, their full potential remains untapped. A new head coach, an innovative offensive coordinator, and the proper supporting cast could turn these young stars into game-changing contributors. It's also important to consider how Pete Carroll's coaching philosophy has impacted player development. This season, we've seen younger players finally get opportunities late in the year due to injuries and a recognition that the season is essentially over. Many of them have outperformed the veterans who were favored earlier in the year, showing that the team has been sitting on talent without fully utilizing it. That raises a red flag about player evaluation and roster management. If the coaching staff had prioritized developing the young core earlier in the season, the team might have been in a much better position, and we wouldn't be having this debate about whether a 74-year-old coach is right for the future. On defense, the performance against Houston was encouraging, and it looked more disciplined than we've seen in previous games. Patrick Graham's influence was noticeable, with a scheme that allowed players to execute with confidence and make plays in key moments. The defense showed it can limit big gains and create opportunities for turnovers, which is critical for sustaining momentum. But while there are positives, a single game does not redefine a defensive unit that has struggled with consistency. Coaching adjustments, player accountability, and strategic planning remain crucial for turning this unit into a reliable complement to the offense. Looking ahead, the offseason is where the Raiders have the chance to reshape the team and set a foundation for sustained success. Drafting effectively, investing in the offensive line, acquiring a quarterback who can execute under pressure, and adding coaching leadership that aligns with a modern NFL approach are non-negotiables. The pieces are there, the talent, the youth, the glimpses of potential. But without a decisive shift in leadership and strategy, the team risks repeating the mistakes of the past. One game or a short winning streak cannot mask the fundamental issues that have defined this season. Even with the positives, it's impossible to ignore the reality. The Raiders under Pete Carroll have shown limitations in adapting to challenges, developing young talent consistently, and maximizing the strengths of the roster. The team has had flashes of brilliance, but flashes do not win championships. The foundation must be built, the system modernized, and leadership updated to meet the demands of today's game. Holding on to the familiar is tempting, but for a team that wants to compete at the highest level, comfort cannot outweigh the need for progress. Ultimately, this is about creating a culture of accountability and excellence. Professional athletes are expected to perform at the highest level, and part of that responsibility lies in the coaching staff's ability to harness their talent effectively. The Raiders have young stars ready to shine, and the opportunity to transform the offense and defense is within reach. But to unlock that potential, the organization must make bold, forward-thinking decisions, starting with the leadership at the top. Before we continue, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest updates on our Las Vegas Raiders. And don't be shy. Drop your thoughts on the news in the comments below. In a move that has sent shockwaves through the NFL, the Raiders are reportedly preparing to unleash a game-changing weapon in their backfield, Kenneth Walker III. Sources close to the organization suggest that the team sees Walker not just as a strong running back, but as a potential centerpiece of their offensive identity, capable of rewriting the way opposing defenses prepare for them. Whispers around the league hint that Raiders management has been quietly mapping out an ambitious strategy centered around Walker's rare combination of speed, vision, and power. Analysts have long marveled at his ability to accelerate through gaps that seem non-existent and make defenders miss in ways that defy conventional logic. If these reports hold any truth, the Raiders might be on the verge of an offensive evolution that could put every team on high alert. Insiders also speculate that Walker's arrival could signal a shift in the Raiders' offensive philosophy. Traditionally known for a more balanced or even pass-heavy approach, the team may be ready to lean heavily on a dynamic ground game, using Walker's explosiveness to control tempo and open up opportunities for their aerial attack. Some coaches around the league are reportedly scratching their heads, trying to predict how this addition will alter defensive schemes week to week. Beyond the XS and OS, the buzz in the locker room is palpable. Teammates have reportedly been impressed not just by Walker's talent, but by his work ethic and competitive drive, suggesting he could quickly become a leader both on and off the field. Rival teams, meanwhile, are bracing for the kind of matchup nightmares that only a player of his caliber can create, blending breakaway speed with the ability to grind out tough yards when the game demands it. While the Raiders have kept most of their plans under wraps, the speculation alone is enough to ignite conversations across the NFL. Could Kenneth Walker III become the defining figure in a new era for Las Vegas football? If the early signs are accurate, defenses may have just found their new favorite headache, and the Raiders' offensive playbook might never be the same again. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to stay updated with exclusive news about our Las Vegas Raiders, be sure to subscribe to our channel and hit that like button. We can't wait to hear your thoughts in the comments. See you in the next video.